President Trump making it clear in Indiana it is still his Republican Party. The president vowed revenge against 7 Republican state senators who defied his demands last year to redraw Indiana's congressional maps. Tuesday, he got that revenge. 5 of those 7 incumbents were defeated in their primaries by Trump-backed challengers. Just one Trump-endorsed candidate lost. Another race still remains too close to call. The president's allies flooded Indiana with $13 million in advertising this year in the state's Senate primaries. Compare that to the $280,000 spent in 2024 on state Senate primary ads in Indiana, in all races combined. The sweeping victories for the president are a major boost to his sinking poll numbers nationally and a warning signal to Republican lawmakers about what could happen if they defy him. CNN's Arlette Saenz joins me now. It was a big night for the president and those people who he backed. What are you hearing this morning?
Well, Sarah, President Donald Trump got the political revenge he was looking for in Indiana last night. These state legislative races typically fly under the radar, but the president's allies poured millions of dollars into the state to make good on his wishes to defeat those state Senate Republicans who had defeated his redistricting effort in the state. At least 5 of the 7 state Republican senators who voted against redistricting were defeated by Trump-backed candidates. Only one has survived so far. That's State Senator Greg Good of Terre Haute, Indiana. And there's one race that is still too close to call between State Senator Spencer Deary and Paula Copenhaver. Deary last night defended his votes against redistricting. Take a listen.
I swore that I was going to lead by principle and strong conservative principles. And the idea that the government should be able to draw new maps anytime it wants, not after a census, takes power from the people and gives it to the government. And that's far from conservative. And so there was never any question. But I also overwhelmingly heard that my voters didn't want it. They didn't want me to do it. And so that only reinforced me.
These election results could potentially embolden Republicans in other states as they are pursuing redistricting efforts. We have really seen a slate of southern states try to push forward on redrawing congressional maps. One of the states we're watching quite closely is Louisiana, where the state's governor actually delayed the U.S. House primaries in order to give the state legislator more time to redraw those maps. But these results in Indiana really showcase President Donald Trump's grip on the Republican Party. His approval ratings nationally are failing, but it shows that he still has significant sway within conservative circles, something to watch heading into these consequential midterm elections.
All right, Arlette Saenz, thank you so much for your reporting there.
So it looks like President Trump got his revenge in Tuesday's Indiana primaries, and it is proving that it's still his Republican Party. Last night, at least 5 of the 7 Trump-endorsed challengers defeated incumbent GOP state senators in Indiana, and these are the ones who had broken with the president and voted against the redistricting plan. Indiana Senator Jim Banks wrote on Twitter, "Big night for MAGA in Indiana, proud to have helped elect more conservative Republicans to the Indiana State Senate." I wanted to follow up on this. It's a coda to a story because back in December, when Indiana was looking at its redistricting maps, and I want to put up the map for you. This is the map that Trump wanted, that Republicans wanted in this redistricting battle. Okay, like the goal was to get rid of those little blue spots there, and a couple of people pushed back. In the end, the Republicans didn't go for it, and there was a lot of political writing that was like, cracks in the coalition, this is people writing, that people really thought, look at this, it means something. And like, I don't know if it did.
Well, no, I think it meant something, but the blowback also means something, right?
Yeah.
Mitch Daniels and a bunch of sort of normie Republicans working behind the scenes.
I love that you call them normie.
Yeah, at least he's not a closet normie. He's out and open.
Yeah, he's out and
norminess.
proud.
But the part of the reason why a lot of those state senators didn't want to do the redistricting has to do with like not wanting to be part of Indianapolis. I mean, it was like real local
it was state
stuff.
Politics, yeah, which arguably is the whole point of the redistricting conversation.
And the revenge stuff has nothing to do with state politics. It is purely to signal that Trump still has a chokehold on the party, that he's not going to be a lame duck, and that even if Republicans lose the House, you better not cross them because he can still screw you.
It's a chokehold on the Republican base, right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing. Primary elections are your most activated, your sort of most true party members. And this certainly is a declaration to anyone in Washington who sort of wants to have some daylight with the president heading into the midterms. But we can also see Trump is underwater with sort of the overall electorate, and it really puts Republicans in a bind because you know that if you have to face, I mean, we've got Bill Cassidy's election coming up in Louisiana very soon. They're facing a situation where if they cross Trump, if they cross the base, they're at very real risk of losing their primary, even with local, elections.
No doubt the MAGA extremists have hijacked the Republican Party and they make up the majority. We see that in Washington, we see that downstream. But I think we have to understand who votes in primaries. Some of the most extreme members, particularly on the Republican side, tend to participate more in Republican primaries. That's been true since Donald Trump came on to the scene in 2016. I will also note that more and more people are becoming independent thinkers and independent voters. So that means you have less traditional Republicans voting in Republican primaries. Instead, they're saving their vote for the general elections where they do not have to be politically associated with the MAGA extremists who now make up the majority of the Republican Party.
But how does a politician navigate that? You can't win the general.
And I'm
if
also
you lose
going to
your
use
primary.
slightly different language, like when we're saying hijack and chokehold. My thing with that is that these are voters. They have made a decision. They are committed to Trump, and they feel that commitment supersedes all other issues. And I don't feel like they don't know what they're doing. You know what I mean? Like, this is what they want.
They have agency, but look, I mean, I'm someone who thinks we made a grave mistake adopting the primary system to begin with, and it's really hobbled American politics. But we have it. But there's a lot of political science on this. A lot of primary voters don't so much vote for their own parties, they vote against the other party. And the reason why this is Trump's superpower is that particularly low turnout primaries, this is the only place where incumbents are vulnerable.
Right.
If all of these guys had won their primaries, they would be reelected. If Cassidy gets the nomination, he will be reelected. The threat to Republicans in very red states and the threat to Democrats in very blue states and districts is the primaries, not the general election.
Let me end it there.
Revenge and retribution for President Trump in Indiana. The president swore payback against 7 Republican state senators who rejected his demands to redraw Indiana's congressional maps. He certainly got that revenge. At least 5 of those 7 who defied him were defeated in their primaries Tuesday by Trump-backed challengers. Just one candidate the president endorsed lost. Another race still remains too close to call. With us this morning, CNN senior political commentator David Urban. David, good to see you. It's his party. He can cry if he wants to. That's the clear message. But what I want to ask you is about what this means going forward. What might this mean in, say, Kentucky for Thomas Massie, who's on the ballot, in Louisiana for Bill Cassidy, a Republican senator who's on the ballot, the president endorsing an opponent there, and then maybe other states led by Republicans considering redistricting?
Yeah, John, perfect questions. Those are the exact questions you'd be asking this morning if you're Thomas Massie and you wake up. You got to have a pit in your stomach. If you're Bill Cassidy, you wake up, you can't be feeling too strong about your positions. And I would say, John, others who are looking, like you pointed out to, other legislatures who are looking to redraw their maps, they would do so, they would reject the president and do so at their own peril because he is clearly, King Kong at the top of the Empire State Building, roads, whatever, pick your superlative. This is, like you said, and he dictates it. The base is with him, and they're willing to go along with what he wants to do. So if you're Massie, it's going to be tough. If you're Cassidy, tough, but not impossible. But it's going to be really tough, and it'll be very interesting to see how these elections play out. I would say if I was a betting man, it's not going to look too good for Massie and Cassidy and others who crossed Donald Trump at this point.
Just very quickly, yes or no, does any of this help Republicans, though, heading into general elections, or is this all, inside the Republican Party politics?
Yeah, look, I think it's a little inside Republican politics, but winning begets winning. It's this muscle memory of how to turn people out, how to get the base excited. We need base voters to show up and win. The Republican Party is not going to win if our team stays at home, if the couch wins and people are just apathetic. So I think
I fear like the couch may have just won in our discussion with David Urban right there. Lost the connection, but we got the gist of what he was saying. David very much suggesting that Republicans who defy President Trump need to be concerned going forward. Not much space for them. I'll look over here. Not much space for them left in the party.